Is it under the climb? Or under the bench?
No.
Okay.
She's like, I thought I found it. And made them hard.
Printer?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, yeah. No. Search. Good job.
Yes.
Good girl.
It says,
I was gonna say it anyways. Good girl. Search. Boxes.
yes.
Good
So
girl.
cute.
Good girl.
So you love doing nose work with your pup.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing about nose work?
For nose work, specifically for dogs that have a little more fear or anxiety, I really like it just because it builds confidence in themselves, because it's something that we're not physically showing them necessarily how to do it, but we're teaching them how to do it. It's also really natural for them, so them using their noses is something that they do all the time. But by teaching them to be better at using their noses, it helps them see their world better. So like us walking into a room and just seeing our whole atmosphere, they walk in and they smell their whole atmosphere. And so if we teach them to use it better, it just makes them feel more confident in themselves.
So it's good for anxious dogs?
Anxious, nervous, scared in any kind of forms. It's good for any dog, but
Yeah.
particularly those dogs.
How is it good for dogs that are get overexcited?
It kind of forces them to calm down in a way. She's another one that she stresses on both ends, one on the nervous scale and then the other one on like the excited scale. And so for her, it makes her have to think and actually calm herself down, because if they're running around, one, they are making the odor move around more, but two, if they're breathing through their mouth and panting heavily, they can't smell as well because they're focusing that airway through their mouth. So it forces them to have to calm themselves down and relax in order to do the task better.
What would you start by putting in the box? Like what kind of treat?
Anything that's kind of high value. For competition nose work, they say really high value. So I'm using hot dog right now, and I don't usually give my dogs hot dog. I'll stick with the pet deli. But for this in particular, especially for dogs that maybe aren't as into it, definitely high value and really smelly treats so that it helps them smell it better too.
Okay. And then this was just kind of a cool tidbit too, because you had her, I noticed you put her on her harness. Does she have like a work mode clip that you switch it to the back to signal, hey, we're doing this?
Yeah, so you don't have to do this with any dog just doing it for fun, but with mine, I like to have her collar and her harness. You can even just do one harness with a front and a back clip. Having it on the black back clip actually promotes that pulling, and this is one time where I'm actually saying it's okay for them to pull, because it's pulling us basically with them towards the odor. So what I do is I clip it onto her leash when we're just walking around, but the second we're going into work mode, I unclip it onto then her back harness, and then I hold her back and then let her go to it. So when you're first teaching nose work, you can start off with that box. And if you can start off with the harness, you can just hold that harness back and wait for them to look at that box. And as soon as they're looking, let them go walk towards it.
Cool. Okay. So yeah, that's a good tip. If you're by yourself, hold the harness.
Yeah.
What if they have done training and they have a good down stay? We can put them in a down and put the treat in the box and then release them to it.
Yeah, you can definitely do that. If they have a down, if they know a place cue, then you can use those also. I still like to kind of pull them back when I'm ready. So in that case, I would put them in their down, have them wait, set up the whole area, and then I would go back and release them, hold on to that harness, and then release them into the search.
To build drive to go forward to the search.
Exactly.
And at what point would you add a cue to signal search?
You can start really when you start the whole process, when we're just down to one box. This is me just starting off getting her to go towards one box. She's already really excited because she kind of knows it. There's hot dog in here, so she can smell it already, but she's also has a very trained nose. I'm holding onto her harness so that she is reined back. I'll drop the box, and when she's looking at it, search. Yes, good girl. Good job. And then you can start it over again just by grabbing another piece, holding their harness. You can drop it in the box. Search. Yes, good girl. Nice job. When they're successfully doing one box and they're consistently running towards it like that, you can add the second box. Same thing, looking towards any of the boxes. Search. Yes, good girl.
I feel like a lot of dogs would do this when you first add its drive towards the box where previously it was, or I guess, and it would be interesting too, to whichever one they're looking at, maybe they drive towards.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting thing dependent on the dog.
In that case, I put the one down that I had just put the treats in, so she was looking at that one specifically. But now I just put the treat in. She doesn't know which one I put it in. She might see through the Tupperware, but I'm still gonna just practice it like this.
She's already looking at the one with it in.
And honestly, with the Tupperware, you can kind of see it, but you'll start to find that dogs that are getting really good at it, search, good girl, which she even goes to check that.
Yeah, she's got to double check. She's like, but maybe.
Yeah, but you'll start to notice the dogs that get really good at this, they still check the other boxes because they've gotten so much history of going into a box. Search. Yes, good girl, good job.
And pop.
In that case. So you can move all the boxes around and then search. Toss it another one in as you're kind of walking around so that she has more to search off of. And if you need to help them by kind of walking towards the box, that may help them kind of draw in that way. And you can also do a little trick where you're pretending to drop something in a box, but you're not really. So in this case, search. Yes, good girl. No, she saw that one, and that's okay. Just kind of keep going, just like any other mistake we make. Be faster. Good girl, search. Yes, good girl. Good girl. Max. Down. Good girl. Good girl. I think that was the last one. Oh, no.
Whoops, sorry. Oh.
When it comes down to it, this is going to make them sleep really well just because they have that opportunity not only to use their natural instincts, but also to use their brain to kind of figure out a puzzle that is still very natural.
Yeah. I feel like people get hung up on like what exercise has to be, and it's like high arousal, like fetch or run. But I always like to point out to people that things like nose work or these kind of like other things can be much more exhausting in a more productive way, and actually like create calmness.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, she, like I mentioned, I mean, if you're teaching them to be calm in these moments, this is actually calmer for her in a working mode, because when she's working, she's doing that a lot. So this is her actually calming herself down. She does a lot of stress signals leading up to it, but in the moment when she's doing nose work, she's a lot more calm, cool, and collected compared to what she can be. I hear you.
As dozy. So what would you do if you're working with a dog and then they just give up?
So in that case, I would just kind of scale it back a little bit. You may have progressed a little bit too far for their needs. So if it's just building the value for that one box, then start there. If it's even just getting that value for the box itself, you may need a higher value treat, just because there's always something that they're going to find that's really exciting. I think the only exception is if they are one of those dogs that's in an environment they're uncomfortable with, and they're just so stressed out that it's hard for them to actually have that learning opportunity. Yes, good girl. And so this is just food hidden around the room. I'm only marking so you can know when she's getting things, but generally it's a quiet game. You let them do all the work. You don't really have to say much. You can encourage them with a good dog, but otherwise, good girl. Otherwise, you just kind of let them do their thing. Yes, good girl. You can hear how hard she's sniffing. That's just because she's really taking it in. This is another reason they get really tired, is because they're just almost working their nose and brain muscles more. Good girl. Yeah.